Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still with you and tonight's edition of the Daily Debate, and once again welcoming Dr. Milad Momtaz, our international relations expert, to the studio. Once again, Dr. Milad, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Now, of course, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will be attending the inaugural session of the 10th ministerial meeting of the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum on Thursday. Could you tell us a bit about the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum, how it facilitates deeper ties between Egypt, China, as well as other Arab countries, and the fact that it's also been ongoing for about 2 decades now, this forum. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about the importance of this meeting.
This meeting is very crucial, and as we said in the beginning of our conversation, it's about the timing. Deepening relations between the Arab world and China is very crucial, you know, when it comes to time and when it comes to the issues and dealing with the issues in the region. Arabs have been trying, Arab states have been trying to figure out, you know, how to deal with China in a much more engaging way, as I said earlier, you know, to make best use of this kind of relationship, not only economically but politically as well. So the Arab world nowadays, because of the conflict in Gaza, I think it's time for the Arab world, and we were talking about, that changing the compass of foreign relations. I'm not talking about, we forget about the West, because, by the way, honestly speaking, we still need the West, and the West is
But you're
very
talking about diversifying.
Again,
yes.
What is, because I've been asked, more frequently about this, what is the use of a diversification? What would we benefit from diversification? And this is very crucial to tackle this very important area. Why? Because diversification is very crucial when it comes to dealing with critical situations. Let me explain it in a different way. Relying solely on one party,
it's dangerous.
Exactly, it's extremely dangerous. So, and we actually been through this. Egypt, I don't want to go back in time and discuss how was it like, for example, 1950s and 1960s into 1970s as well. So it has pros and it has cons as well. So what I've been appreciating about the Egyptian administration for the last 10 years now is the kind of balanced attitude, balanced approach to foreign policy, not actually going in one direction wholeheartedly, relying totally on one side against the other. No, I believe we have learned our lesson very well that, diversification pays off. It's very crucial to do this. And not only Egypt, I believe so. Maybe it's different for other countries in the Arab world, but I believe most countries in the region, especially with the ongoing situation and the relations with Israel, despite the fact that, let me tell you straightforwardly, we were hoping that the last 5 years that would be drastic changes in the situation with Israel because of the accords and agreements. We were hoping. In actuality, the whole situation has been exposed now. Israel has been exposed. The real face of Israel now has been exposed. Meaning, as we see nowadays, no one can hide reality behind what's going on.
Indeed.
It is very dangerous. So once again, diversification is a highly needed need nowadays.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Milad, of course, another important issue that will be discussed and that you've mentioned is the BRI, a very important Belt Road Initiative project that has been implemented by China and plays a very big role in the African continent as a whole. China has gone into many, many African countries under this initiative of the Belt Road Initiative, and they've developed infrastructure in many African countries. They've helped with the electricity, with roads. They've played a very big role in this regard and tried somehow to move away from, the colonization of the usual colonization relationship when it comes to Africa, of just taking out raw materials and benefiting from African countries, etc. How do you see this different approach of China to developing different investment relations with African countries, not just depending on the usual, colonial era kind of relationship of just plundering raw materials out of the continent?
Okay, I really like to discuss the word colonization in that context because it's been echoing now about the relations between Beijing and most of African countries and most countries around the world. Okay, colonization is a one-way system. If that system is a two-way system, it's not colonization. And I think historically speaking, we all know about this, okay, what had happened before. And by the way, I'm talking about the near past. I'm not talking about, okay, distant past. I'm talking about, okay, that, okay, let's say a couple of decades ago, and we still see what's going on and what's happening in the Sahel. And France is being kicked out now, which is very alarming to the West. Because people nowadays,
this wasn't unheard of, yes.
Exactly, okay, because we've been actually deceived and into believing that's what, okay, no, we're benefiting you, no, actually you're taking advantage of us. So when it's, once again, let me quote you on this, when it's win-win, it's not colonization. When actually, you know, I don't really get it, when someone says, no, actually they're taking advantage of us. Okay, no, actually it's a two-way thing.
Indeed.
Okay, you are benefiting from China and they are benefiting from us. They are investing money. Okay, in return you are actually benefiting from this.
And they are one of the first nations to move away from this whole plundering of resources from the African continent and just taking them back to their country. They have tried to invest in infrastructure, for example, in many African nations. How do you see such an initiative as bringing together more African countries and diversifying, as you said, ties between China and African nations?
I believe China is one of the most far-sighted nations in the world. And far-sightedness here, I'm talking about, okay, that, okay, economically speaking, being far-sighted. They are being actually trying to move away from the very traditional and despised Western techniques of taking advantage and plundering nation, as you said. And we are actually now talking now about new economic measures, new techniques, okay, to build strong, okay, relations, economically speaking, between different nations on actually new basis. I'm not talking about, okay, the old-fashioned way of looking at things. I'm talking about new actually techniques, new approaches, new visions when it comes to establishing relations between countries. And that's why the West now is accusing China of taking advantage. And I'm wondering myself, okay, how, I'm sorry to put it this way, how dare they describe China as taking, so what you have been doing, you know, for the last, whatever, 200 years to the region.
Right. Doctor, I'm afraid we are running out of time. We've just got a few minutes left. But let me, try and wrap this up by asking you, how do you see, the future of Egyptian-Chinese relations? We know lots of memorandums of understanding are also going to be signed during this visit to further deepen and strengthen economic ties between the two countries. How do you see the future of Egyptian-Chinese ties?
Okay, let me sum up the whole thing, then I elaborate. It's about, it's promising, very promising.
Very good.
Okay, why it's promising? Because we got, okay, for example, one thing which has been heavily criticized even till today is about infrastructure and why Egypt and why the Egyptian administration has been investing billions of dollars in that kind of thing. I think it's paid off nowadays. When we actually get a country, a very heavyweight country like China, economically speaking, we tell them come and invest money in Egypt, we should be ready with it.
Facilities.
And we are exactly the infrastructure. We talk about electricity, we talk about, okay, roads, we talk about everything else.
Ports,
it's very much ready.
Airports,
everything is ready. So we are ready. So we've been waiting with that moment to go ahead. The launching pad is ready for this.
So futuristically, you anticipate a very important deepening of ties between Egypt and China.
Yeah, for sure.
And not just on the economic front as well. There's political, there's cultural ties as well between the countries, and a soft kind of power. How do you see, this kind of play when it comes between Egypt and China?
When it comes to soft power, I believe China is far behind the West in that kind of thing. Because the West has been playing that kind of game when it comes
cultural
to
kind of side.
Culture and movies and whatsoever. China has been trying, but they are not there yet. I know they've been trying hard. On our side, I believe we need to exert more effort in that direction. We need to go to China. We need to talk to the Chinese people. We need actually, because by the way, they love, as everyone else in the world, they love, of course, ancient civilization, the culture, okay, and the monuments and whatsoever. So
we've actually been seeing an uptick of Asian tourists and tourists from China coming to visit Egypt over the last few years, which is another indication of, as you said, an upgrade when it comes to cultural ties.
Yes, okay, actually, I think we have a plan which is kind of really good on my side. That's what we have, a culture plan, not only economic plan. And of course, we are fully ready for this kind of moment that we address others in their language, which is very crucial as well.
Absolutely. Right. And finally, Dr. Milad, how do you see Egypt and China handling, the regional situation at the moment? Do you expect a common stance or a communique to come out of this visit with regards to the developing situation in the region?
That's what has been issued in the statement or the declaration today, that we have, a unified stance. There is unified situation regarding what's going on. And one word that I believe sums up the entire thing is what ceasefire. We have to have a ceasefire. Not only we need, we have to. Time is over for the word need. We have to have a ceasefire. That bloodshed cannot continue anymore. So we've been waiting for that kind of thing from the two countries.
Indeed. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for tonight. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Milad Momtaz, our international relations expert. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and for coming in this evening on tonight's edition of the Daily Debate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up today's edition of the Daily Debate. We do hope you have enjoyed it. You are in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for joining us.